10% of a million is better than 100% of 50,000. Like I get it, man. But sometimes slow grind, slow steady is okay as well too. So I've signed a distribution deal. No, I am not a signed artist. Another level of growth is recognizing the areas that you lack and the areas that you're weak, and then bringing on people who are strong in that area. For me personally, as I've done this more and more, I have actually made it known to my audience that like I'm actually going to get more and more in your face about the person of Jesus and not the other way around. It was just natural like growth. First song did pretty good. Second song, wow, it's doing okay. Like third song is getting placed. People are reaching out to me to collaborate and feature. It was just like natural growth. I'm a normal guy, you know. I like to go out to eat, you know, I enjoy time with my friends, you know, I trash talk a lot when it comes to sports.
Welcome back to the Many Roads podcast. I'm your host, Oba Okusanya, and I'm excited today because I have with me, I guess you could call him Canadian gospel sensation. He's a gospel artist who hails from Canada, but is impacting the entire world. He's a husband, he's a father, he's a Christian, and, you know, he's doing big things. He's doing amazing things in the space of music. And, you know, I am excited for this conversation because I feel like we're going to touch on some very important things here, you know. But anyways, welcome with me, David Kojo Dave, also known as Kojo Dave, to the Many Roads podcast. Welcome, bro.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Yeah, man. So like I said, right, I feel like ever since I've known of you, you've been doing music.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So, and this probably goes past like 10 years now.
Yeah, I think 2018, 2019. So
Wow.
it's about 7 years. But I was doing music in a different space. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, can you sort of just give us like a brief summary kind of like what that looked like before?
Oh, sure. Sure. So I was so I'm Dave. I was born in Ghana. I was raised in Japan for a good chunk of my early childhood, and I moved here in grade 4 when I was 10. And when I moved to Ottawa, I had a lot of cousins who were like into like hip hop and dancing and stuff like that. So that was kind of where like my interest kind of intrigued. I used to take piano as I was younger in Japan. So essentially, me and my siblings all had like interests in music, whether it was sonically, whether it was creatively through dance or whatever it was. So yeah, it always intrigued me. And so I think like grade 7, 8, I would freestyle with my friends and whatnot. I really wasn't great. I was just trying to mimic and fit in to and get accustomed to the Canadian lifestyle, I guess. But I think it was when I moved to Canada, I got into like a little bit of like the earlier software. I used to record with this thing called Mixcraft, like really garbage digital audio workspace, and I would just, I don't know, make songs. I'd take beats from like YouTube and just kind of make my own remixes to original songs already, and I kind of liked it. I would just post it on Facebook, and yeah, people would, you know, react to it, comment, etc. We were on Facebook a lot more back then. And then I took like a little hiatus, I suppose, because I had a lot like going on. Like I was in dance. I was in dance on a pretty high level. I was in basketball as well, competitively. And so I was just trying to focus on that side of things. And sure, I was, you know, I grew up in a Christian household and family and whatnot. But the music I was making was just kind of like, yeah, like, you know, money and, you know, just the typical usual stuff you hear on the radio. So and then I think I had in 2015, I had like a real encounter with God for myself. And I wasn't doing music at all at this point. And so basically that encounter, I don't know, made me take my walk with Christ a lot more seriously. And for whatever reason, in 2018, I just felt the inclination to like start making music again. But I knew I was like, this time if I ever do go back to music, I was going to, create music for God. And
Mm.
a lot of the people who used to listen to me, I knew would think that would be tacky or corny because I was making, regular R&B, soul stuff, and then now I'm jumping into like, you know, Christian, and there was no such thing as Christian R&B. I was just trying to make,
Yeah.
hip hop songs that talked about God. But yeah, I released it nonetheless, strictly on SoundCloud. I didn't know anything of the sorts of putting up songs on Apple and
Mm.
Spotify and using DSPs and publishing all that. I didn't know any of that. I just wanted to put my music out there, and the easiest one that I used was SoundCloud. And a good friend of mine now, his name is Tep, who runs a blog page, well, music curation page called Blessed Music, and they reposted my song onto their platform on the YouTube page, which had like a
Mm.
100,000 subscribers. Then they're pretty big in the Christian space, amongst with like gospel hydration. And then that's where like a lot of comments and a lot of people saying, hey, like your stuff is kind of dope. And I was like, okay, maybe I might have something here. And so
Mm.
that was 2018, 2019. So I was like, okay, like, and then we were just going into COVID. so so I had a lot more time
Yeah.
to actually like start writing and recording music, and I made relationships with certain people. And yeah, the kind of rest is kind of history. I just found a new love in creating sounds, and yeah, here we are.
Bro, I think it's interesting that as you're talking, I'm starting to realize music wasn't always the plan.
No, yeah. No, it definitely
Right.
wasn't. It definitely wasn't the plan. I mean, you know, it was kind of like a hobby, you
Mm.
know. Um I think everybody has interests in multiple things. Like even right now, like I work in criminal justice, and then I do music kind of on the side, but that hobby was starting to, garner, I guess, a platform of some sort,
Yeah.
and people were actually listening. So that's kind of why I was like, okay, you know what, like, and that's not what was motivating me, but it was nice to
Mhm.
be able to have that as well too. So yeah.
Yeah, would you say your sort of upbringing across which is crazy, by the way, across
Mm.
Ghana, Japan, and then Canada, like, would you say that has sort of influenced the way you view the music or you go about the music in some sort?
Yeah, I just think creating in general, like,
Yeah.
uh like, Japan was very, very much so uh arts based, like, I know, so me and my siblings, we all like to, like, it all started with drawing. Like we
Mm.
I used to be really good at tracing like cartoons, and then I would draw, and then I would start making comics, and then so like we just liked the avenue of creating and being in piano at such a young age. I mean, I was in piano from like 4 to about 8. And then a few people know my older brother, who's literally a classical pianist by
Yeah.
profession because of that. So yeah, like it definitely shaped, not necessarily Ghana, because I was only there until like age of 4.
Mhm.
But obviously the Pentecostal upbringing, seeing my parents be worship leaders and
Yeah.
instrumentalists for Church of Pentecost, I was always around music. And so I think yeah, growing up I just kind of wanted to have an avenue to create for myself as well. And at a point it was freestyling, at a point it was dance, at a
Mhm.
point it became music. And so that's kind of how it took a life of its own.
Yeah, bro, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, essentially, you go from, this kind of hobby kind of relationship with music, and then you transition into like, okay, now I feel like I'm called to this, right?
Mm.
A lot of people can possibly relate to that in the sense that in a season of their life, something that they're doing as a hobby, all of a sudden they have an encounter with God, an encounter with Christ, and now they feel like, okay, God is telling me to do this. How did you go about that? Because that's a little bit more serious approach now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think well, God gives gifts. He's the
Mm.
giver of all gifts. And so everything good that I have comes from God. And so with that being said, I was like, how can I use what I have to glorify God? It really
Yeah.
didn't mean much until I had my experience with him, my encounter with him. But yeah, when that came about, I was like, okay, like, music is kind of like an avenue that uh it came easier. It
Mm.
came easier than other areas. Like I was hooping, I was playing sports. But in my head I was like, okay, like if I'm not doing like, NCAA Division 2, Division 1,
Yeah.
like if I'm not going league and stuff like that, like um I don't know, like I continue to play that as a hobby as well on the
Yeah.
side too. But with music, it literally leaves the creative ability, it leaves that into the artist's hands.
Mm.
Of course, partnerships helped, working with dope producers and engineers who bring out your sound to another level obviously helped out as well. But I think music is an avenue that leaves the creativity for that person, and
Yeah.
it's easy to walk with God in that area. So yeah.
Ho Now, how important would you say, like, in all of those sort of, maybe it was months or maybe it was a year or 2 years or whatever, like, sort of that beginning period, how important would you say the previous season was to, like, now, doing this full time, not full time, but, like, doing this more seriously with a more, uh, sort of focused approach? How important would you say the previous season was in terms of, like, discovering your kind of sound and, freedom in terms of creativity and all that stuff?
hmm Um, I think is definitely pivotal. I think without partnership or without people who are figuring out and navigating the space
Mm.
at the same time as well, without them, like I would definitely not have continued. There was a lot of people who were figuring out the space with me
Mm.
when I started doing music. um I remember like when I started, there was a an artist called Asha Elia who was, I heard her stuff on SoundCloud, and I think had just released some music. And like there was a few others who were creating music at that time that I connected with,
Yeah.
that and then we all kind of grew together in a
Mm.
sense. And honestly, like with anything that I do, uh I want to bring a level of like consistency or excellence or seriousness to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I have the ability to not just make this a hobby, or it can continue to be a hobby, but it could really, bring the gospel places first of all, and also bring myself into new doors and new spaces. And so in order to do that, I had to take myself seriously, and then continue to just elevate in whatever capacity that I could.
Yeah. No, bro, I mean, your journey's been incredible. Like, I'm sure you're gonna only do greater things, right? So I know you've done about, I think, 5 independent projects, right?
Mm,
But recently you got signed to Tribal Records.
mm,
Um, and yes, you were seeing results, I would say for sure. Like, I mean, the numbers don't lie. You can see the numbers there. Like, you're seeing results, millions of streams and all that stuff.
mm-hmm.
But what was the, I guess, the decision in terms of, do I want to stay independent or do I want to, like, sign to a record label? What was that like?
So I guess I will drop this caveat and like clarify, because I think a few people have it have it a little bit misconstrued. So
Okay.
I've signed a distribution deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've signed a distribution deal. You're still working with the A&Rs, you're still working with different folks who run like obviously an engine that Tribal is. But in terms of, receiving an advance and etc., no, I am
Yeah.
not a signed artist. I don't like I didn't even make that announcement, and I don't
Yeah.
like having people think
Mm.
otherwise. I know there's
Yeah.
certain other artists who might, roll with this. I'm definitely honored, like I'm definitely like grateful for the
Yeah.
opportunity. Like I've released music on my own with different DSPs. I've
Yeah.
signed a distribution deal with some other companies before as well. The tenure came to an end,
Hmm.
and once I was able to connect with my now manager, she felt it would be a good choice to try to see what they could offer or what they can do to
Yeah.
I guess bring my discography and like demographic listenership to like the next level. And
Hmm.
so it made sense. Personally, if it did come to like signing and stuff, and I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
the case at all. I'm of the notion that independence continues to give you control
Yeah.
in you know not only what to drop but when to drop. It's about when to
Mm.
drop. For me
Okay.
personally,
Okay.
it's about being able to uh, come up with music that you like, promote it how you like, and release
Yeah.
it when you like.
Mm.
I think when there's a lot of hands in the pot, even if, yes, people say this notion of, oh, 10% of a million is better than 100% of a hundred
Yeah.
percent of 50,000. Like I get it, man. But sometimes slow grind, slow, steady
Mm.
is okay as well too. So personally, um, if an artist can maintain their independence and do things on their own, I definitely welcome that more than having the need to like go ahead and sign. But with that being said, too, different companies, different labels, they bring positives as
Yeah.
well too.
Yeah.
They have reaches, they have connections with Spotify and Apple and the other
Hmm.
streaming platforms as well too, right? The editorial playlists, publishing, and and just yeah, like bringing your music out to different I guess demographics more so than an individual can. Obviously an individual with a good social media, good marketing on their
Hmm.
team could go as far as they can, but there are definitely a lot of pros that a label can bring. But I'm of the notion that if you can remain independent and release music on your own, I think that should be the way to go.
Yeah. No, I hear you, bro, and I agree. Just because you're absolutely right. The fact that you get to retain ownership over that creative
Yeah,
process, and I like the fact that you also pointed out like it's not just even what to drop, how to drop, it's the when. Like
correct. Yeah,
being able to say, okay, I want to drop this now, and not having to tweak your schedule because there's another artist in the label that's dropping at that exact time or something like that, right?
yeah.
So I understand that, but could you also speak to sort of the I guess it's this idea of even though you're an independent artist, having to understand that you can't do everything by yourself,
Mhm.
because I find that that's the struggle that a lot of people have, where it's like,
Mhm.
so I'm an independent artist, that means I'm doing everything by myself. And I don't
Mhm.
think that's necessarily the case here.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I am you don't wanna juggle every single ball. Obviously, certain people are gifted with that ability.
Mm,
I think team is everything, and even if your team just consists of a consistent engineer, a producer that you work hand in hand with,
mm,
a graphic designer, marketing strategist or marketing director. Having people in your corner makes the job a lot easier. I think certain level of growth is obviously learning to do things yourself, but
mm,
another level of growth is recognizing the areas that you lack and the areas that you're weak, and then
yeah.
bringing on people who are strong in that area. I remember I was trying to learn how to create beats through Fruity Loops and Ableton, and I would watch a lot of other people like get good at creating beats and whatnot, and I dabbled into it. I can't honestly say I gave my all, but I was like, the grace for me is not there. Even though I am uh uh sonically and musically like sound, like I have an ear. I know how to harmonize a lot of things to make it happen. I've worked with a lot of instrumentalists, even within my family. So in terms of communicating that musical language, I'm okay with.
Okay.
But I do recognize areas that I lack. I
Mm,
recognize like maybe I'm not such a numbers person. Maybe I'm
mm,
not the greatest at directing the proper Facebook ads and targeted Google ads, and maybe I'm not the greatest at certain things, and so I connect with people over time.
Hmm.
Some of the people that I work with, like I always have to shout out my brother Benji, who's a producer from Germany, and like without him, like there would be no like Kojo Dave, because in the beginning it was like, obviously you're spending hundreds and thousands of dollars in just the rights, exclusive rights to beats and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
And as an independent artist who's starting up, um it could really put a hole in the pocket. But
For sure.
once you find individuals who actually believe the vision, trust in the work, and see that we could all grow together, we could all eat together, glorify God with our gifts, it's the best thing in the world. It makes the job a lot easier.
So you have a business idea you're excited about. But hold on, here's the truth. About 90% of startups fail because they build something nobody wants. What if you could test your idea before you build it? What if you could test your idea before you waste months or thousands of dollars building it? I've put together a free guide called the Reality Check Guide that essentially has 10 validation methods you can use to test any business idea today. In it, you'll find validation methods used by Tesla, Dropbox, Airbnb, and other notable names around the world before they became household names. I've also included AI prompts that you can use to validate or test your ideas using ChatGPT or any other AI platforms. So get access to the free guide. The link is in the description. Download the guide and use it to test your ideas before you go waste money and time. All right, let's get back to the pod. Yeah, no, man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So reflecting on your journey now, so I wouldn't say, I mean, there's this whole argument right now on the internet about gospel music and all that stuff. We're not even going to go into that, right? But um so I would say you create Christian music is how I would
Sure.
put it,
Yeah.
right? Because gospel is it's a different genre, it's more
Sure.
traditional, I would say, right? So creating Christian music. um did you ever go through a time or a phase where you're probably asking yourself, am I too, like, am I too faith based for mainstream? Or you know what I mean? Like, did you ever start to think to yourself, maybe I should be targeting more mainstream? Because, and I bring that up because
Mm,
I am seeing that is a lot of, there's a lot of conversations happening around that with other Christian musicians
mm-hmm.
and Christian artists where they're saying, you know what, maybe I don't have to explicitly say the name of Jesus. You know what I mean? But could you speak to that?
There used to be a thing that people used to say, like, a uh I'm not a Christian artist, I'm an artist who is Christian.
Christian.
And I don't know, like, I think that's so corny to me personally.
Yeah.
In my head, have I ever thought that, like, oh, like, how do I get the mainstream folks?
Hmm.
For sure. But for me, it was the other way around. Like, like I, I have a lot of friends who are not Christians. I have a lot of
Yeah.
colleagues and acquaintances and people in my life who are not believers. And my journey, I guess, is the other way around, where I'm coming from the world and
Yeah.
I've transitioned to making faith-based music. A lot of my listeners actually are not Christian as well, so
Wow.
I will still go ahead and say that. But in terms of folks who say, like, it's not, there's nothing wrong in in trying to get more of a fan base.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong in trying to garner to or cater to all the four corners of the world, and people who don't necessarily profess Christ as God. But with that being said, that if you are a Christian
Hmm.
and you know what God has given you, for me personally, as I've done this more and more, I have actually made it known to my audience that, like, I'm actually going to get more and more in your face about the person of Jesus, and not the other way around.
Yeah.
Uh, just because I'm looking at it as a whole and where the world stands today. um they need God.
That's
We
right.
all need God. The state of the world is in a very dark place, just from my perspective, and anybody who reads the Bible would also understand that as well. And so why, when the world is in such disarray, that I'm going to now shun the voice
Mm,
of God and stop mentioning Christ as much just for the sake of increasing my audience. My audience
yes.
is nothing. Like earth
Mm,
and heaven and earth will pass away. Like his
that's right.
word is established forever. And so, and I know a lot of the times I quote scripture even to those who don't necessarily love Christ or know Christ to be God. I still know that the word of God holds power, and so there's authority in that. Whether they think they're being preached out or not,
Mm,
a seed is being sown. And so I don't believe in the notion of, I don't know, switching up your message for the sake of your audience. There's definitely other creative ways that you can go ahead and do that. There's still many, many ways that people haven't tapped into uh, that can still convey like your music or your stories
mhm,
about, your faith in not so generic way. Like I know people always write music from like a first person, but you can write it from third person. You can write it like a backward story. There's so many avenues and so many creative ways that new artists are coming out with to speak about Christ. And so,
mhm,
nah, I'm not of that notion. I think we need more bold gospel. We need more faith based music that bluntly says it how it is.
mhm,
Um, Instead of kind of sugarcoating it so that I'm making music for others and whatnot. And there's nothing
yeah,
wrong with it. This is not me saying there's something wrong with folks who create music to like cater to other people. There's nothing wrong with it. It's totally fine. But where I'm going to put my time and effort is to uplift the name of God if I can.
mm. I hear you, bro. I think this is where it comes down to like personal conviction as well. I think
Mhm.
some people have they just don't have that conviction. It's like, oh, like, I don't feel like I should do that. Whereas for other people like yourself who believe, no, 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 like the point of this gift, like the entire point of this gift is to pass the message across. So
Correct.
why dim that down? Why turn that down?
Exactly. It's
You
like
know.
we have to, yeah, you said it right there and there. Like I don't know, like you have to, not everybody has a platform or whatever.
Mm,
But if you do have any sort of platform, that is the stage. And now are you going to uplift yourself, or are you going to uplift somebody else or something else that is beyond you, that
mm,
everybody needs? And I think if we do have that opportunity, we should use it wisely.
yeah. So just talking about like the idea of salt and light, right?
Hmm.
The idea that we are to impact our world, we're not supposed to hide, the light that we are, and we're supposed to like salt is only effective on contact. Like we're supposed to actually make contact with the world. But to do that also takes a bit of courage, also takes a bit of confidence.
Sure.
And like I don't know if you've always been this confident, right, in terms of your journey and music and all that stuff, but I can imagine that doing concerts and you're traveling and you're touring, of course, you build confidence as you go. But
Hmm.
at the beginning phase, how did you find that initial courage to say, you know what, I'm going to go from Facebook videos and SoundCloud clips to actually doing this?
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, well, as I've grown up, I've become more of an extroverted introvert. Like so for most people who know me, I'm an extreme extrovert. Like
Mm,
if I'm somewhere, you usually know me because I'm loud and I'm just kind of, that's just who I am. That's just who I
yeah.
who I was. So in terms of like I some of my best friends were people who used to be in the faith, and then for whatever reason over time began to denounce their faith based off of
Hmm.
experiences and lifestyles and whatever it was. And so I grew up like always debating and like always kind of not necessarily being an apologist, but like always like just we would always exchange thoughts and ideas.
Yeah.
And before I used to just speak out of passion, somebody who's
Mm,
extremely passionate, but I wasn't sound in like the biblical theology, or I
theology,
wasn't
yeah.
sound in exegesis. Um But and then the more and more I grew up, like I'm just like, no, I actually want to know. I actually want to be able to have conversation with people who have opposing views
Mhm.
than me. And so I
Okay.
made it that point. I'm still on that journey, but a lot of what I do, even on the TikTok side, has nothing to do with music. It's just about studying the Word of God and putting it out there in understandable bits. So yeah, like I guess I've always been pretty bold of a person.
Mm.
So it didn't necessarily take too much out of me. It wasn't out of my comfort zone to be like, yeah, I wanna perform, I wanna minister, I wanna,
Mm.
sing or rap in front of, a group of people or whatever. I definitely didn't take too much out of me. However, like, I'm learning because passion and grit doesn't necessarily mean skillful execution. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of musicians who really do this, who are doing this full time. And whenever they're getting up on stages and they're ministering, it's just natural. They're in syncness with their musical director and knowing their, whole entire uh their like their whole songs and
Yeah.
whatnot, and just the layout of everything. Like there's a lot of people who've been doing this. I'm still growing. But in terms of like the boldness or like
Mhm.
not being shy in front of hundreds, thousands, whatever, like that was never me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like that because I think there's a lot of people. Some people might relate more with the people who are sort of like, I was shy and then I kind of had to work my way into a place where I was now confident. But for some of us, we've always kind of been like okay being in front of a camera or
Hmm.
talking in front of people, handling a mic, So sometimes I can't relate when people are like, "Yeah, it took up a lot of courage," because I'm like, yeah, even if I was like nervous, like I was still like, bro, I'm just gonna say whatever I want to say,
Correct.
anyways,
Exactly. Yeah. That's just
right?
how it was. So
So what would you say was the sort of the biggest challenge in that season, though?
like explain like
Like
biggest challenge in.
in that transition to, okay, I'm doing this seriously now. Was it do you like, because okay, for instance, a good example for instance would be, um at some point I used to serve as like an assistant youth pastor
Sure.
for many years.
Sure.
But that was a different thing to like starting a podcast.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, because people have never known me for like podcasts. So it's like when you
Correct.
start a
Yeah. Yeah.
podcast, people are like, what are you doing? And I can understand that because it's a different thing entirely.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, it's like you were already sort of dabbling with music.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, no, now I'm gonna do this like seriously, I'm gonna focus on
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah.
what was the challenge in that for you?
Yeah. I I don't know if the word is challenge. I just felt like it's natural.
Hmm.
Like you start doing something, and like I made the decision that I was going to start making music. I made the decision. It
Yeah.
wasn't when I saw that I had 100 people listen to me, 1,000 people listen to me,
Okay.
10,000, 20,000, 30,000. It was me making a decision saying, I'm going to go ahead and make music. Obviously, if it didn't go well, then cool. Like I might just, call it quits after a few years or whatever. But
Yeah.
um, it was a decision that I had made. And I think, applying prayer and applying like, thoughtfulness in my releases, and yeah, just somebody who again likes to be in control of recording when I want, dropping
Yeah.
when I want. I would like just release a bunch of music. I didn't necessarily have like a game plan of like, okay, I'm not gonna drop for 3 months, 4 months, and I'm gonna do this. It was kind of like, man, if I have music on my Type C USB, it's being uploaded, I'm creating and I'm putting it
Hmm.
out there.
Yeah.
So I think it was just natural like growth. Like, you know, first song did pretty good. Second song, wow, it's doing okay. Like third song is getting placed, getting put up for like, I don't know, certain playlists and radio shows and stuff like that. People are reaching out to me to collaborate and feature. It was just like natural growth.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to, I guess, what do you like? I wanted to be a good steward of
Of
the
that growth.
the
Yeah.
momentum
Yeah.
that was built,
Yeah.
and so that's kind of what I'm still trying to do.
Yeah, that's incredible, bro.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, over the last couple of years, I would say I'll say like from like pandemic times to now, like the music scene, especially in terms of Christian music, like is changing rapidly.
Hmm.
And like you're seeing like all these new players, and you're
Yeah.
seeing like different styles of music become prevalent, and you're
Yeah.
seeing like, I feel like all of a sudden Afrobeat too is like a huge thing. So that we've seen that sort of come into the space as well.
Yeah.
But like, so how do you stay innovative in like a music scene that's ever changing? Like, how do you stay like relevant and be like, you know what, I'm gonna do this sound because this is what I feel like, even though
Yeah.
like there's all these other things going on, and you still
Yeah.
want to be relevant, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not saying like everything is for the Lord. Everything is for the Lord, but you
Yeah,
obviously, we're on earth. You know what I mean? You still want to be
exactly.
putting out good content. You want to be putting out good music, quality stuff. Um, and to be honest, like, so I began like, like, I don't think I am a singer. So like,
Oh,
I know how
wow.
to
Okay.
harmonize. I
Yeah.
know how to add two layers and make it sound good when they're added together. So that's always what I've said. So I remember when I started making music, like, uh people would always come to me for like hooks, just
Mm,
like choruses, because I know how to like make like good sounding melodies,
yeah.
but I came in rapping, like,
Okay.
and so in the beginning, like, I was able to, do a rap verse and then go ahead and switch it up to the melodies and
Yeah.
then go back and forth. And if you know how to do that, and coming from like I don't know, like a Ghanaian background as well,
Hmm.
like, always been around high life and so many different sounds. Like, obviously high life came through, I'm a piano came through. Like,
Yeah.
I was very much like a mold. I was kind of adaptable when I started making music between like 2018, 2019. I was more so like a rap artist
Hmm.
who would sing sometimes. And then I would say 2020, 2021, like, most of like London, like UK and like Canada and Ghana knew me as Afro gospel. Like, I was grouped
Yeah.
in this Afro gospel space. And I'm not mad about that. Like,
Yeah.
I think that was kind of what was popping up at that time. Um, but and then it got to a point where I didn't want to be like
Boxed.
boxed into that Afro gospel, because I liked rapping, I liked R&B, I liked soul, and
Mm,
so I started to just dabble. So honestly, I interweave a lot, and any project that you go back to that I've released, like, there's a song or two that I'm just like strictly rapping. There's a song or two that might be Afro beats, and there's a song or two that might be, like Jersey Club on my piano,
hmm.
regular R&B and stuff like that. So I think I maintained adaptability through just whatever sounds sonically good, I like. So
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily always like stuck to one genre. I can kind of interweave how I want. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So I guess the follow-up question would be this. Is there a genre that you're not gonna mess with at all?
Is there a genre I wouldn't mess with at all? Oh man. I mean, I haven't made any like country
That's
country
that's that's
songs.
what I was gonna ask, bro. Like, are we
Yeah,
gonna
I
get a
haven't made
country
any
album?
country songs. It's not like I don't enjoy country songs. Sometimes they're nice to
Yeah.
listen to. Um, but I don't necessarily see myself making a lot of country
Yeah.
music and stuff like that. But like something like even like soft rock, like pop rock, like
Mhm.
I have a few songs in like I don't know, in my laptop that never saw the light of day, that are like soft rockish pop kind of. So I've definitely like gone far left, far right multiple
Yeah.
times, and then maybe regrouped with my manager and was like, maybe it's not the time to put out something like this, but probably country.
Fair enough. Fair enough, bro. Fair enough. Um, I could just give you a moment.
I'm just getting my
Yeah,
charger.
go
Sorry,
for it. Go for it.
computer's dying. All right, good.
Yeah. So I guess still on this, I guess the music side, because
Mm-hmm.
very soon I want us to kind of switch into like fatherhood and life
Mm,
and all the other
mhm.
aspects apart from music. But the reason why I asked the previous question is because
Yeah.
I see that some people struggle with um maintaining like the core of who they are and just sort of like switching genres or switching styles just momentarily because that's what's kind of in, and they sort of get lost in that, right? So how do you
Mhm.
make sure that, you know what, I maintain like Kojo Dave is who Kojo Dave is, and like these are like the things that I sort of like, but I can borrow elements from this, I can borrow elements from that, but the core of me stays the same.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I mean, I think and again, I don't want to, like, unnaturally box myself in, but I
Mhm.
think majority of the stuff I've been putting out recently groups me in, Christian R&B. That's basically what it is,
Mhm.
and so the type of music that I'm putting out right now is usually Christian R&B. However, I don't know, I might veer off and go into some more sounds that might be more close to rapping. I might veer off and go into,
Yeah.
a little bit of Afro and whatnot. I think having a creative like producer or having like individuals who are good ears for yourself outside of yourself,
Mhm.
who are able to say, "Hey, like you should tap into this sound or whatever." I remember like you know I used to listen to Jersey Club even before Jersey Club type beats became
Became a thing.
popular, and
Yeah.
so when that stuff came out, I was like, okay, like the few songs that I've had sitting in the files, I can now release it because
Yeah.
I've already been dabbling with this type of stuff. So I think having like again other individuals outside of yourself who are creative, and giving you an opportunity to like try new things,
Yeah.
is always good. But for sure, like establish yourself in one spot. Like you
Okay.
know, even working um with like the label, or even working with anybody who I've done like a distribution deal with, they I'm usually in playlists and whatnot that have a lot of other Christian R&B, Christian soul,
Yeah.
alternative type of sound. So yeah.
Yeah. So but how important would you say it is to sort of experiment in the sense that like these are songs you probably would never release, but for your own sort of creative journey and just
Hmm.
creative expression, how important would you say it is for creatives to try the new versions of what they currently do, new styles of whatever it is? How important would you say that is?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important, because it's like it's just like a social exercise. It's kind of like a
Hmm.
musical exercise, whether I like, even when you're warming up to sing worship at church, or you're warming up to do before like a show or ministration, like you're doing ranges and like
Yeah.
you're drinking honey and you're doing pitches and you're doing you're doing all of the different stuff that I would never do. You never do them, but like it's necessary to
Yeah.
just kind of be ready with your vocals, right? And it's the
Hmm.
same thing with trialing different things. I just to kind of show yourself that like, okay, like don't box yourself in too much,
Hmm.
you know being creative enough to like dabble into other things, seeing whether you can do it. And then a lot of the times too, like an artist tries a different genre or a different type of style of music that they themselves necessarily didn't think they were good at, and they release it and it changes their whole entire trajectory.
Hmm.
So I think it's extremely important to try different things, for sure. Like even when I'm a piano started getting popular in my head, I was like, okay, yes, we're all Africans, but like South Africans run this side of I'm
Yeah.
a piano.
Facts.
So you don't want to disgrace you
Hmm.
don't want to disgrace the genre, but at the same time too, it's like why why not? Like try,
Yeah.
And if it doesn't go the way you want it, then now but at least trying allows you to see that like, okay, there are different avenues you can tap into as an artist.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea of experimentation is for you to just see what the results are,
Yeah.
anyways. Like, and like you said, you don't have to put it out there. Like, you could just send it to a bunch of people that you have around you who might be willing, who will give you sort of like real advice
Exactly.
and feedback and be like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And if the people around you are telling you this is a no, the entire world is probably going to tell you it's a no as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, experimentation is definitely important. That's all it is, and you could apply this to anything else.
Mm-hmm.
You apply this to. I mean, I'm bringing it into like dance and sports. There was also a phase in my life where I was designing clothes, which I
Mm.
sometimes still drop like exclusives at times, and it's all about experimentation. It's
Yeah.
all about exercising your creative know-how and seeing how the audience reacts and whether they like it or not, and then you kind of adapt and pivot and go from there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Coach, I want us to sort of switch gears, pivot. Let's pivot
Okay.
as it is, right?
Let's pivot.
So we've talked a ton about music, but
Hmm.
I know you're also a husband. You're also a father. You have a beautiful daughter.
Thank you.
Um, how has that changed, like all that it is that you do? Because I can speak from my own perspective that like the moment I got married, that
Hmm.
changed things significantly. And
Hmm.
the moment I had we had our son, like
Hmm.
my whole worldview changed entirely.
Yeah.
Right. So how has that changed even your music?
Yeah, no, it's changed. It's changed a lot in a sense where uh you know time is of the essence, really.
Mm,
You do things with more of like a hyper focus.
okay.
You there has to be meaning. There has to be like an end goal to what you do, because you can't be wasting time. I have a hobby that I one day want to be able to do full time if God gives me the grace to do that. um but it makes me go harder at my my day job. It makes me
Mm,
it focuses me. It allows me to focus, to like be present
yeah.
in the moments, because like you blink and like they're a month, they're 6 months, they're a year, they're two, they're almost three,
Yeah.
like and so it brings a level of seriousness. And again, I go back to stewardship. Everything that I have is because of God.
Mm,
Everything. And being the husband or being the head of the household, um it 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 puts a certain onus on the head of the house to make sure that like things are in order. This is not saying that I'm a one man show. I'm definitely
mm,
not. I'm
yeah.
extremely grateful for my wife, who's been there through and through. And it just it changes your perspective for the better, I guess, to be able to stay focused on what's
Mhm,
at hand and doing things as though you're doing it for God,
yeah.
and not necessarily just like living anyhow, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. No, honestly, what you're saying is spot on because, like, even when I started this podcast, the
Mhm.
sort of I had been trying to like just push this further along. Like, I'll
Mhm.
get to it, I'll do it,
Mhm.
just because really didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? But one of the things that like changed my mind was I was thinking about how I can't tell my son, if God tells you to do something, you should do it, and I'm in disobedience. Like then I'm a
Yeah.
hypocrite. Like
Yeah.
if how do we tell our children, this is when God talks to you, you should say yes and answer to whatever He's telling you to do.
Correct.
But then I'm like doing the opposite of what I'm telling him.
Correct.
I'm so it just didn't make any sense to me. And then also like you rightly said, there's this sense of urgency that you all of a sudden get where it's
Yeah.
like, whatever I need to do, I need to start now because
Yeah.
there's a whole human being like sort of dependent on me, and I want to pivot here to talk about like your 9 to 5 because
Mm.
a lot of musicians, this is okay, people might come at me for this, but I'm just gonna say it as it is.
Go ahead.
A lot of musicians think that, you know what, um I just go into music full time. Like whether or not I have the resources, it doesn't matter. It's gonna work out, and for some people, it does work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like that, I feel like that's the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that? Because if at your level you're still saying, I still think it's important to still be effective in the corporate world while you're building the career in music, and hopefully eventually very soon you're able to transition by God's grace. But can you talk about that as well? Because a lot of people I don't think they're really understanding the reality,
Hmm.
of the music scene.
Yeah, and honestly, like this is this is completely subjective opinion
Hmm.
from me. But like I I see a lot for my family. I see a lot for myself.
Hmm.
I see a lot for, like the next generation that's coming from us. And you know, there are certain fun things that we like to, like I want to be able to take my wife and kids,
Yeah.
on travels a certain amount of times a year, buy this or buy that. Like, we there I have dependents and there are responsibilities over there. And so if I'm going to, I don't know, if I have that much of responsibility, I want to make sure that like what I'm earning and what I'm bringing in is sufficient.
Mm,
Now, if I was single, no kid, whatever, maybe my perspective might be a little bit different.
yeah.
Um, however, I don't want to negate the fact that faith is needed in certain areas. Like
Oh, for sure.
sometimes, like sometimes, like somebody has everything they need to jump full fledged into that space.
Mm,
But it's fear that keeps them from going full time into something. And for that person, I say, like, no, listen to God and like pray about it, prepare yourself financially,
mm,
and then jump in and have like a backup plan and make sure that like your partner, whoever, uh, is all in on that plan. But as for me, I think it's important to kind of have a foundation, you know, unless I know that uh, just music can pay for uh, the lifestyle that I'm currently living and building.
mhm,
Um, the things that I want to purchase, whether that be items or land or whatever it is, if it can't cover those things or if it's not moving in a trajectory that allows me to say, you know what, like I can leave this right now fully,
yeah,
I'm going to think twice about doing that. So this is just my circumstance. Somebody else might
mhm,
be completely different and have the flexibility to be able to try and fail and then
yeah,
still be okay. But for me, it's like, yo, like I'm in this, but I don't intend on doing this forever as well too. So,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
so eventually the time will come. But as for right now, I do definitely realize and recognize that like it is important to just kind of have something to sit back on. Yeah,
yeah. No, I definitely agree. And
yeah,
like you said, it's subjective, but at the same time, I feel like it also boils down to just reality. Like
hmm,
these are the needs you have.
yeah,
And like, bro, like those, you know what I mean? Like, if these are the needs you have to find a way to meet those needs. And
yeah.
if music is not doing it right now, you might have to, for some time being, do something else.
Correct. Yeah, life's expensive, man. So
Yeah.
we gotta we gotta get it how we get it. So
I hear you, bro. But
yeah.
I feel like creatives struggle with this because it almost feels like they're cheating. It almost
Uh
feels like they're like they're not going full on their dreams. And even in the space of entrepreneurship as well, like I hear people say this all the time, which I feel is wild.
mm,
Oh yeah, if you're gonna start a company, you should quit your job from day one. Because how else do you tell yourself you're fully committed? I'm like, bro, what are you gonna eat?
no. No, no, no. And again, it depends. It depends on where you are in life and whatnot. But you
Hmm,
you have to use wisdom. You know, you have to
yeah.
apply knowledge, and it just sometimes some circumstances just it doesn't make sense for you to throw everything out off the boat and then
Hmm,
jump into like a hobby that hasn't even taken off yet.
yeah.
I just personally think it's unwise.
Hmm,
Um, I don't think it takes much thinking, and people who try and shame folks for, I don't know, having a backup plan just in
hmm,
case something doesn't work. I think that's a cop out. Like if you tried entrepreneurship. Or you created a business and in your first exit you had a $500 million exit or $1 million exit.
hey man.
Congratulations, great for you. Not everybody is functioning that way. A lot of people start things and it fails, and then they start
mm,
something else. It does a little bit better, lasts for about 2 3 years. They pivot into something else, and then by the time they get into their fifth, sixth thing, it's like okay, like they're making it work. But in that whole entire time, they were trying different ventures.
yeah,
They had income that they were bringing in from something that they went to school for that allowed them to be able to invest in that. So use what you have. You went to school for something and you landed a job, and you can still accommodate time for your hobby and your business
mm,
while working that job. Do it for as long as you can until it doesn't make any sense.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Use what you have. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. All right, bro. So I was gonna ask you a question. I mean, family man. I know how like I know how much time family takes. You know what I mean? I know how much time it takes to like, and it's not like you're not you don't you're not looking forward to spending the time. It's just it is what it is. It takes
Hmm.
time to like have a healthy family, and like do trips and like spend time and play, go to the friggin' playground, and
Hmm.
like whatever it is, spend time with your significant other, all that stuff. How do you balance that with like, oh, I gotta record music. I gotta
Yeah.
write. You know what I mean? Because you know,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just communication and compromise, as
mm,
simple as that answer might be. But you you have to prioritize, like my household, my wife, my daughter, they're my first ministry.
that's
And
right.
so I have to make sure that they're okay. And this is an area that I'm still learning. I'm not coming on here to say I am the exemplary husband. Like, I'm still learning,
That's right.
but I
Yeah.
do know what scripture says. And you know just as Christ is the head of the husband, I'm supposed to be the head. And so I need to take how serious God takes union. God
Mm,
takes my relationship with my significant other, as well as my children,
mm,
and make sure that, like, I'm stewarding. Again, I keep going back to stewarding. Like, I'm gonna be accountable to God. And so
yeah.
there are moments where, like, I have deadlines and I need to make
Oh
I
yeah.
need to, bounce out certain stems and send it to an engineer. I need to get a graphic out, or, communicate with my manager about certain things. And, like, I need the time. And when those times come, I try and make sure, I'm communicating things as far out as I can with my wife, and making sure that, like, we're coordinating. It's just like, even like daycare pickups and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Like,
bro.
it's just communication. It's just, okay, today I'm doing it, you're doing this, tomorrow you're
Mm,
doing this, I'm doing that. Like, it's just communication and staying on top of one another. That makes the job a lot easier, and keeping God in between, like, really makes it a lot easier. So yeah.
no, that's I think there's a misconception on social media, because the way social media makes life look, it almost makes everything look seamless,
Hmm.
because from post to post is it's just easy transition, right? But you don't get to see like the real
Oh
sacrifices.
man.
You know what I mean? So, and for someone who's doing what you're doing at your level, I can tell that there has been and there will be sacrifices in terms of stuff that you don't do, stuff that you can't say yes to right now,
Yeah.
just because, and having to, like you rightly said, having to prioritize and know that actually it's family first.
Yeah.
That's beautiful,
Yeah.
because I've also seen that happen the other way, and we all know how that usually ends up.
Yeah, yeah. Like, everybody has their cross to bear, and I understand that. Like, some folks, like, it's like, hey, what they do is the bread and butter for
Mm,
the family, and so they say, like, I need to make sure I'm doing this in order to have, like, what we need for our family and whatnot. And I understand those circumstances, but I think, especially having, coming from, like, a household with two parents,
yeah,
two siblings, like three boys who are all similar in age. And the way that we came up, it was a lot of just communication, compromise, and making sure we're doing what we need to do, but always prioritizing family, and and
yeah.
and making sure that, like, we're okay as a unit before anything else. So yeah, things happen, but I try and keep that in the forefront.
Yeah, that's amazing, bro.
Yeah.
Um, I guess final question here. Actually, I have two more questions. So
Okay. Yeah. 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 Of course.
what's one misconception? What's one thing that people believe about Christian artists that you wish you could erase? Like,
Mm.
because I recently, and the reason why I asked this is because I recently saw an interaction between, I think is Young Thug and Lecrae. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, on X, where he was
No.
talking about how, like, if you're a snitch and your career is like dying, you just go gospel. And
I
Lecrae
mean, hey,
responded,
we've seen that in the industries happen a
right?
lot of
Right.
times
I
where
mean, if it,
they kind of revive your stuff, or the Christian community is just always so welcoming. So
that just embraces you, right? But Lecrae's response was like, "Hey, this isn't a grave; it's a garden. Like there's room over here. Come, you know what I mean?"
yeah.
But that's one thing. But from your perspective, what's one misconception people have about like the Christian artists and that space that you wish, like, you know what? I wish people stopped thinking this way about us.
I get. I again, I can't speak for the entire like genre
Mm,
or like the space of Christian artists, but personally, again, subjectively for me, um, would be that like I'm a normal guy, you know. I I like to go out to eat, you know. I enjoy time with my friends, you
mm,
know. I trash talk a lot when it comes to sports and you know, I understand Christ is at the forefront for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But and then being able to be relatable as well
mm,
is totally fine without
yeah,
compromising who you are, you know, because a lot of the times they might think that, if I'm talking to Dave, it's always going to be about, okay, we're opening up the book of Numbers chapter. Like it's not like that. It's just like, yo, what's good, man? Like, how are
yeah,
you? Like, what are you saying this summer? Like, what are some plans? Like, you know, what's the game plan? What stocks are, you know, like,
yeah,
we're regular people, you know. At least for me, I can say that for myself. And so, you know, come talk. A lot of the times I'm posting a lot of content surrounding, you know, my faith and my belief and certain Bible studies and stuff that I'm doing. But a lot of the times I'm also doing just like I go to families' weddings, you know,
mm,
we have a party and then I'm vlogging that. And yeah, like we're at least for me, I can say I'm definitely very, very much relatable. I
yeah.
just I just know that at the end of the day, what truly matters to me is the person of Christ and the message of the gospel going around. So I think that's one misconception. It's like, oh, you could only have conversation with these folks if it's about church, but it's
Mm.
about life. You know,
Life, yeah,
we're good everywhere. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, even the way the Bible is like sort of structured, it's about life. Like, if you actually deep it,
absolutely.
it's generally about life. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
it,
So why am I going to just box myself into that space? So yeah.
mhm, yeah. All right, bro. This has been a fantastic conversation. My last question for you before
Yes,
I let you
sir.
go, is this. So I want you to picture sort of, if you had three options right now,
Okay.
right? Like, these three options, and you could do these three options for the next, let's say, 1 to 2 years, essentially. So option one would be to tour globally.
Mm,
Option two would be to sort of mentor new artists.
mhm.
Option three would be to release a new album, and you get to pick and collaborate with whoever in the industry you can.
Oof.
Like, there's no budgets, there's no restrictions, there's no hindrances. Which of those would you pick?
Oh man. That's that's tough. That's tough. I think I think I'm picking number one, to be honest. I think I'm touring, you know.
Yeah.
Uh any yeah, like, you know, I've done sporadic shows here and there, you know. But to be consistently going from one city to the
Mm,
next, just doing music with a team of instrumentalists and you know, producer and management and speaking about, you know, the message,
yeah.
that would definitely be top one. And then the second option would definitely be mentoring. I
Mm,
already do a little bit of that stuff
okay.
through I have this thing called Remnant Group, where I just kind of curate like a playlist of music from artists who are well known, also artists who are not so well known.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to, I guess, support those who don't necessarily have any resources to record, to get connected to like producers, graphic designers, and artists and whatnot. So I have tried starting something on along the line of mentoring to a certain capacity. Obviously, it hasn't. I haven't been able to um, dedicate my a lot of time to it as much
Mhm.
as I would like it to be. But for sure, the number one option would definitely be to be able to go on tour. That'd be dope.
Hey, bro, from your mouth to God's ears, bro.
Hey,
You know.
he's hearing this, so whatever he wants to make happen, he let it make it happen, man.
Yeah, bro, for sure, man. Bro, this has been an amazing
This has
conversation.
been
Thank you so
great.
much. I love the fact that you are very like you said, relatable, like just a chill guy, man. Like I'm not trying to
I'm really yeah. That's really it. Like that's me, man.
yeah.
Yeah, but I appreciate you
Um
having me. Thank you again. This has been a seamless conversation. It's been good.
yeah. My absolute pleasure, bro. Before you go, you released a new single recently, all around,
Yes,
as it's
sir.
called. I was actually listening to it yesterday. And I was also going to tell you off of your last album, the fruit album, the by your is it by your fruit?
But by their fruit, yeah.
By their fruit. I think Ego.
Okay.
That's my track.
Oh,
Yeah,
appreciate that. I
yeah.
appreciate
That
that.
that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one,
yeah.
that one
Yeah, yeah,
slaps,
yeah.
bro. Like I was listening to, it, I was like, "Whoo, this
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
bro."
that one goes hard. I won't lie. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm really excited about the recent record, and there's
Mhm.
definitely a lot more in store. I wish I could release them faster than I am right now, but it'll be out
Yeah.
sooner than you think. But yeah, all around streaming on all platforms. My boy Jordan May, yeah, produced by my boy Benji again. So
Mhm.
like great record. And anybody have time to spin it, go ahead and spin that. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, you guys heard it, man. I'll also put links in the description of the
Awesome.
podcast
Thank you.
to all Kojo's like music pages, Spotify, whatever, and his Instagram as well, so you can connect, follow, as he's building this incredible career. Like this is it's an amazing thing God is doing through him, and I'm really excited because like it's refreshing music. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
thank
it's
you.
not
Thank you.
it's life giving music. You know,
Yeah,
so
I hope so. Yeah,
yeah,
thank you,
bro.
man.
That,
I appreciate
it
that.
really is. All right, bro. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, bro.
All right, bro. Thank you again, eh?
Yeah.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
All right. There you have it, everyone. That's all we have for you today. If you were impacted by our conversation, I would love for you to comment, like, subscribe, let me know something that stood out in the entire conversation, something that hit you like a light bulb, just something that you would like to just get off your chest, essentially. Let me know, and I'd love to hear from you. Please subscribe if you aren't already. We'd love for you to come with us on this journey that we're on as we build, the Many Roads podcast. It's been a great hanging with you all. Till next time, God bless.